because you're not facing any potential jail term here, but you do have the right to hire one. Was it your intention to give up your right to a lawyer and to represent yourself?
Yeah, I would love to.
Then I will accept the waiver of counsel, and Ms. Yeager, you may call your first witness.
Thank you. The state will call Deputy Sherburne.
Deputy, please come forward and be sworn. You may inquire.
Thank you. Deputy, how long have you been with the Licking County Sheriff's Office?
It'll be 2 years in April.
And were you working on January 24th of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What shift or hours were you working that day?
Third shift would be midnight to 8 a.m.
Okay. And were you wearing a uniform of the day like you are in court?
Yes.
And were you driving a marked patrol car with a working visible light bar?
Yes, I was.
And did your duties as a deputy include traffic enforcement and responding to calls for service?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had all required training required by the Sheriff's Department?
Yes.
And as of January 24th, were you up to date on all training, certifications, and continuing education requirements?
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to draw your attention to about, I guess it would be 2:19 a.m. Whereabout were you at that time?
I was patrolling in the township of Etna. That is in the west side of Licking County.
Okay. In that state of Ohio?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you dispatched to a property regarding some kind of complaint?
Yes, I self-dispatched myself to it.
Okay. And what was the complaint about?
This matter arose in the state of Ohio, within Licking County, concerning a citation issued to Dimitri Bugatti for unlawfully parking in a clearly designated handicapped parking space. The incident occurred on January 24th at approximately 2:19 a.m. in Etna Township. Deputy Sherburne of the Licking County Sheriff's Office testified that he was on third shift patrol when he responded to a supervisor's email referencing complaints that a vehicle without proper authorization was parked in a handicap-designated space. Upon arrival, deputies observed a 2006 Mercedes bearing Ohio registration parked in a clearly marked handicap spot. The signage was visible and unobstructed. The vehicle displayed neither a handicap license plate nor a removable windshield placard. Mr. Bugatti was identified as the registered owner. After speaking with him, the deputy issued a citation for violating Ohio's handicap parking statute, a strict liability offense requiring no proof of intent. Mr. Bugatti entered a plea of not guilty and elected to represent himself at trial, waiving his right to counsel. The matter proceeded as a bench trial, with the state bearing the burden to prove the violation beyond a reasonable doubt.
We had received an email from our supervisors about a vehicle that had been parking in a handicap spot. An anonymous person had called in multiple times saying that this individual did not have a handicap placard in their window or on their license plate. The individual that was complaining was also handicapped.
Okay. So did you go to that location where this person was allegedly parked?
Yes, as soon as I received the email, myself and Deputy Coffey actually met me down there to find the vehicle that was parked in the handicap placard spot.
And when you arrived, was there a vehicle parked in this handicap spot?
Yes, there was a vehicle that was bearing Ohio registration Edward Ocean Mary 4227.
Okay.
It's a 2006 Mercedes, I believe.
Okay. And who was the registered owner of that vehicle?
Dimitri Bugatti.
Okay. And did you speak with Mr. Bugatti?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Is he in the courtroom today?
Yes, he's right there.
Okay. Your Honor, let the record reflect the witness identified the defendant.
Will so reflect.
Thank you. And so back to this parking space. You said this Mercedes was in this parking space. Was this clearly marked as a handicapped parking space?
Correct. It had a sign coming out of the ground. That was
the sign with the handicap?
Correct.
Was it a parking space that was clearly marked with lines on the side as to
yes.
This is a spot?
Yeah.
Is this in a row of parking spaces?
Correct.
Okay. And is this sign clearly visible? Was it?
Yeah, it's clearly visible.
Okay.
Yes.
And was it obstructed by anything like snow, trees, anything like that?
No.
Okay. And this Mercedes, did it have the handicap emblem on the license plate?
Nope.
Was there a removable handicap windshield placard on it?
Nope.
Okay. Were you able to determine if Mr. Bugatti had any kind of handicap registration?
No.
Okay. Did you or Deputy Coffey speak with Mr. Bugatti about why he parked in that space?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Do you recall what he said at the time?
I believe he said that he knew the owner of the condominium complex, and that he had permission to park there, and that the handicap sign itself was irrelevant.
Did you ultimately issue a citation?
Yes.
And was that for parking in the handicap spot?
Yes, it was.
And that was to Mr. Bugatti?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, nothing further at this time for Deputy Sherburne.
All right, so Mr. Bugatti, you have the right to ask the deputy questions, and once the state has rested its case, you'll have the opportunity to testify on your own behalf. But this portion of the trial is for questions only. Do you have any questions for the deputy?
Yeah.
Then please proceed.
Is it normal at 2 o'clock to come to someone's property, wake up the whole family, flush your flashlights into the windows, wake up the owner, and ask him to get outside for your needs?
Well, I work midnight to 8 a.m., so yeah, it's pretty standard for us. I also received an email from my supervisors as to a complaint, and there was somebody complaining that was handicapped for a situation, so I thought that was pretty important.
Okay. Is it normal for you to sit in a warm car for 30 to 60 minutes and me standing outside listening to you saying that the system is not working for you to issue me citation, but I cannot move anywhere, I have to stay there and wait for your citation and for system to work?
Well, I can't control the weather, but I also can't type a ticket outside of my cruiser, and we also had a new system called Solve, which is a ticket writing system that is something that we are all still getting used to, as we have been used to using a different system for years.
Would it be appropriate for you to maybe offer me to go back home while you working with your system, and maybe I would not get sick and got sick my whole family afterwards?
Objection, Your Honor. At this point, how is this relevant?
Well, because I was standing outside next to him, and he was in a warm car, and I was asking if I can move.
Okay, I'm going to overrule the objection. You can go ahead and re-ask your question, Mr. Bugatti.
Yeah, I got sick, my family got sick, I'm still recovering from it. I did not work for many days because of standing outside. And my whole point of being here in the court is actually looking into your eyes and see, as I asked you several times, what humanity factor you have to give me citation versus warning in the middle of the night and come there with 3 cars on taxpayers' money, seeing my clear record, seeing that I never done anything wrong with the system, listening to my deep story, which I'm about to tell later, and still do a citation, and probably coming here today and probably paid overtime.
Is that all?
Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, I pay taxes too. And then secondly, I'm sorry that you were sick. That's obviously not my intention. When my supervisor sent out an email requesting us to do something, I have a duty to respond to that. And when it's something that's as sensitive as a handicapped person complaining about somebody parking in a handicapped spot, I feel like that's my right to do that. Once again, my intentions weren't for you to sit out in the cold. I understand that it's cold and it's January.
Okay, my next question. You said that you got an email which contradicts of what this gentleman told me standing outside, that you guys got the phone call, and that's recorded. Email from your supervisor. I asked who complained. I was told by you that it was a person who knows a person who might park here.
Objection, Your Honor. This is hearsay,
that's-
Hold on a
hearsay,
minute.
hearsay.
You're testifying now, and as I said, you'll have the chance to do that, but this is for questions.
My question, I'm giving you a pre-story, that this is recorded, and you saying it's not a phone call, it's an email. It's from your supervisor, which is contradicting what he said, that it's a person who knows the person who might park there. So I want to know whose email was it, when it was issued.
Okay.
Do you have that information?
I mean, I could probably get it for you. I don't think there's any relevance in that at all. Even if I didn't get an email, which I did receive an email from my supervisors, it doesn't matter. You parked in a handicap spot, which I don't have to issue a warning for.
Your Honor, I submitted the letter from a president of our condo association where I am being harassed and punished for nothing. This was submitted last time I came over here. I believe I tried to read it in front of you last time when I pleaded not guilty. Police officer, did you have a chance to read this?
No, I have not seen that.
Okay. Have you been at that place since then, on the parking spot?
Since then, no, I have not.
No?
No.
Could you do that job not in the middle of the night, but during the day?
Your Honor,
Just
he's
for the
badgering my
sake-
witness at this time.
Well, I think
He's not asking
that question has already been asked and answered about is it normal procedure to be doing that at 2 in the morning? So let's move on to your next question, Mr. Bugatti.
Okay. It was stated that besides the email to supervisor, there were multiple phone calls made to me.
No, not to you. Somebody else called into the sheriff's office complaining about somebody parking in a handicap spot.
So would it make sense for you guys to give me a phone call or send me an email or contact me before coming over there with 3 cars in the middle of the night?
I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter though.
It does matter because it's taxpayers' money. 3 cars coming over, everybody is paid hourly. Taking me out, that's my money too. I'm not going to work after that. We're sitting over here, everyone is paid from taxpayers' money. This is all waste of a lot of resources for one right decision, which would be a warning or a phone call or doing something to contact me at least once.
Well, at this part, you're getting up on your soapbox a little bit and just stating opinions. Do you have a question?
I guess I'm done with questions.
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. When you first arrived to speak with the owner of the vehicle that was parked in the handicap spot, did he offer to just move his vehicle?
Yeah,
Okay. Did he later end up moving his vehicle?
correct.
Okay. But again, this was at 2 in the morning, and you had to wake him up to do so?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you required to give people warnings for traffic infractions?
No,
Is it just something in your discretion?
correct.
Okay. Would you agree with me that perhaps the right decision would have been just to not park in a handicap parking space if you don't have a placard?
I would agree with that.
Thank you. Nothing further, Your Honor.
Now, you have a right to what's called recross-examination, but it's restricted to the questions to cover the topics that were asked in the prosecutor's most recent questions. Do you have any follow-up questions based on that?
I want to tell the story from the beginning to the end.
You're going to get your opportunity at the conclusion of the state's case, but do you have any additional questions for this witness?
Probably not.
Okay, Deputy, you may step down. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Your next witness?
Your Honor, actually, at this point, the state would rest on Deputy Sherburne's testimony.
Okay, so, Mr. Bugatti, the state has rested its case. As I explained to you at your arraignment, you're presumed to be not guilty. The state always has the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt before a person can be found guilty of something. You're under no obligation to call any witnesses, to present any evidence, or to testify on your own behalf, and if you didn't, I don't hold it against you. It doesn't reduce your presumption of innocence, nor does it lessen the burden that the state faces. But you do have a due process right to call witnesses, to present evidence, and to testify on your own behalf. So, other than yourself, do you have anybody that you'd like to call to the stand?
No.
Do you wish to testify on your own behalf?
Yes.
Okay. You will be required to swear or affirm to tell the truth, and at the conclusion of your testimony, you will be required to answer any questions that the prosecutor might have. Do you understand that? Then please come forward and be sworn. And bring anything that you intend to testify about with you. All right. So, Mr. Bugatti, there's no lawyer sitting at your table to take you through your testimony, so your testimony simply takes the form of you telling me your side of things, and you can start whenever you're ready.
Okay. So, right after 2 o'clock in the morning, I got a ring and a knock at my door. My kids woke up. My wife woke me up, and she asked what's going on. And I said, we have a camera. We wanted to look at the camera, but it wasn't working at that time, so I was in my underwear. I went to the entrance. Before I got to the entrance, I saw the flashlights flashing into my face through the window. So my first impression was that I've seen before police officers coming over to my neighbors, and I think maybe the teenager there in trouble or something, and I thought maybe they're gonna ask me questions about someone being my neighbor. So I asked who was there. They said it's police officers, sheriffs from Licking County. I said, what's going on? They said, are you Dimitri Bugatti? I said, yes, I am. They asked me if I can step outside. I said, I'm undressed and I don't feel comfortable because I don't think I've ever been in a situation like that. So I asked, what's the problem? They said it's in regards to your car parked at the handicap location. I opened the door a little bit. They saw me being undressed, and they advised me to dress up and follow them. I asked them is it possible not to do it tonight and do it in the morning. They said no. Then I asked them, what if I don't come out? What's going to happen? Because I wasn't even sure it's police officers, because I thought maybe someone is playing a trick, or it's thieves or some criminals, maybe in uniform, because I've never dealt with a situation like that. So I asked them what's going to happen with my car if I don't step out. Will it be towed away? And the officer said, yes, it will be towed away. So I thought about it and I said, okay, I'm going to come over. I told my wife to come down. I'm getting outside. I'm going to move the car. So I went outside. While I was approaching, I was loudly speaking to the second officer. He was standing outside. This officer was in the car. There was a third officer in the third car who was taking pictures of my vehicle. So while I was approaching, I was speaking loudly, and the second officer was whispering for me to come over. So I came over. He started asking questions. Have you been ever contacted with this situation that you're parking on a handicap spot? I said, no, never. But if it was at least once, maybe you have a proof. Were there phone calls or emails? He said there were multiple complaints against me, and and this is a big problem, and I got to move a car. So I said, okay, let me move it. He said, no, I'm sorry. No, there was more story. I started telling him, here's what's going on in this neighborhood. We have 23 units there, okay? 2 I own, 1 with the tenants, 1 for myself. So I kind of have almost 10% of ownership in this neighborhood. And every time when we go through selecting presidents and going through the meetings and board of directors, they always ask me to participate. They want me to be president. I don't have time for that. So we had a deal that Miranda Homes are building around us 180 plus units. And by building that, we had a leverage to negotiate a lot of things. For example, where to put the parking spots, how to widen the roads, where to put asphalt, how do we deal with the meter for the common area. And I participated in all of them. So there were blueprints which were laid down in front of me with the president and the other 2 main guys, and they were saying, would you mind if we put these 2 parking spots right on your backyard? And because we have so narrow streets, one of them is going to be yours, and you're going to be parking there. I said, I don't like it on my backyard, but if there's no other way, yeah, let's do that. At the end of the day, they put a handicap spot there on that parking lot, on 1 of 2. So I was parking. This is not my main car. My main car is in the garage. The other car is there, and it's for my kids. They're teenagers, but they're growing up, and they need a vehicle. So I was parking it not on a handicap spot for several months. And then a neighbor right across, one day he noticed my car is out, and he put his van and basically parked it for good. It's been staying there probably for a year. It has stuff in it on the driver's seats, and the officers actually checked. The second officer went with me to that van, and he said, this is against the law. And I asked, why don't you then wake up him and ask him to move the vehicle if it's against the law? But it's standing there, and I have pictures of it ever since. So I waited, and then nobody's using this parking spot. I asked our president, is it okay if I do that? And he said, well, if we don't have any handicapped people around, go ahead. So I did that, and what happened next, and I'm sorry for this long story, but there is another neighbor right next to me, very nice gentleman, but his mom is a psycho. She is old woman who has stickers on her car like this with the cursing F words and everything from behind. And she kept parking her car in front of my garage, just blocking it. She would come to visit my neighbor, probably as a grandmother, and she would block it. She did it once, she did it twice, she did it many times. So I did a sticker like this, and I put it on her window, and I nicely wrote, "Dear neighbor, I would appreciate if you not block it because my wife can hit the car, and it's not like you parking every day, it's once in a while, and we might miss it." So this lady, she took that thing, came to my new Mercedes, and put it on the back to the point that I had to get it out with my paint and repaint the whole back part at Mercedes with a lot of cost. Next time she parked, I put exactly the same thing. She wrote the message to me, "You motherfucking bitch, you don't owe anything, blah, 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 blah," put it back to my car. So then I addressed it with the president, and I said, "Could you please speak to her son? He lives there." I don't think he had a chance to speak. She changed the cars, got a new car, new Jeep, and she blocked it again. At that time, I took pictures, I sent it to the president in the middle of the night, well, like midnight, and I wrote to her, "I'm sorry, I advised you many times. If that will happen one more time, I'm gonna call and we're gonna tow away your car. By the way, I informed the neighborhood about it." She wrote me the nastiest message, which I took a picture, I have this picture, sent it to the president, cursing again, that I don't own shit in this neighborhood and I'm this, and that. I believe, and the president believes, that that's the lady who called on me. We don't have handicapped people. If we had handicapped people, if anybody said a word, I would immediately move my car. I believe, and can I read the letter from President?
Well, it would be considered hearsay because it's an out-of-court statement being
It's not.
offered.
I put it in court, right?
An out-of-court statement is he wrote something, whether it's written down or whether it's somebody said something. You can't testify as to what that was if you're offering it to prove that what it says is true. You would actually have to have the person who was either the one who wrote the letter or the one who made the statement come in to testify.
And
that
Your
that's
Honor,
what they said.
Your Honor, he suggested to come, but I value his time. So instead, he worked with lawyers. He got signatures of the whole board, and it's notarized. So this is not just someone saying it. This is really a document.
No, it is a document, but let me point out to you how absurd the hearsay rule can be. If that officer cited you for having an open container of alcohol in your vehicle, and he said, "I looked at the label and it was a Budweiser label," that you could object and say that's hearsay because the fact that it says Budweiser, alcoholic beverage on it, is a writing that was made outside of the presence of the court. It was being offered to prove that what was inside that container was in fact alcohol, which was prohibited by the statute. So I understand what you're saying. And by the way, you've already testified basically to what that letter says. And of course, I'll just determine what weight to give that evidence. So it's not like that the court is not aware that basically you had the blessings of the president of your board. So if you want to go ahead and continue with your testimony, go right ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to look up at my notes just to see where I stopped.
It was getting a letter from the president of the board.
Yeah, so all this story, why I'm telling all this story, because there's more than just parking at the handicap spot. There is pre-stored. And as my whole condo association thinks, I'm subject of harassment of that lady. Okay, so she's doing it intentionally because she sees my car she wants to hurt me. That's it. I tried to explain that to the second officer. At that time, in the middle of the night, the neighbor, the son of her, with his wife, returned back home, and the second officer started moving towards them. I went after him, and he was apologizing to them because they also have address 101 as me. It's just a different street. We're like in the corner, 101 Dusky Willow, 101 Weeping Willow. And I believe they first reached that place instead of mine, and they were apologetic that there were flashing lights or whatever. They did the same as with my spot. So that's what gave me idea that maybe they called on me, and that's where that lady is from. But that was nothing. So we returned back. I realized that I'm on camera. I realized that there is a citation in process, which at first I did not think that's going to happen. I thought that they're nice guys. They're just talking to me. I'm explaining to him what's going on. And I'm like, what is citation? Is that like a ticket? Yeah, it is. You cannot move without us finishing the ticket. I'm like, so I'm going to be paying fees. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, can't you guys give me a warning? Like, I'm as human to human, you know, like I never been in a situation like that. This is my first offense ever. So I never been contacted. Maybe it's a case, it's 2 o'clock in the morning for the warning, and I'll just move my car and I will never ever park there. He said it's not my decision, it's the decision of the sheriff who is in the car. So I approached him, I asked him. He said, no, this is a fair thing. We're giving you not a warning, but we're giving you citation. I said, why guys are you doing this? This is 3 cars. Why don't you just chase criminals in the middle of the night? I'm sure there are thieves or something more important than me at this moment. I mean, logically, this doesn't make sense to me. I mean, unless something happened, like, is there a handicapped person right now pointing at me? And with the other officer said that one person called saying that he knows another or she knows another person who might park there. And I said, it sounds like bullshit. It sounds like something is behind it. Now I realize.
You can quote other people's profanity, but try to watch the profanity in your own testimony.
Yeah. I said BS, by the way. I used the full version of it right here. But over there, when I realized that I'm on camera, I said it's BS. Regardless. I'm basically begging for them to give me a warning, and they're saying no, 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 and the system is not working to give me citation. That's where I asked, why are you sitting in the car, in a warm car, and fighting the system where I'm standing here on call? They said, okay, you can go and sit in your car. So I went to my car, I sit in the car, but it was colder than outside because it's like a casket there, you know, so I sat there for a couple of minutes. I got out because I can't even move there. If I move, I'm a little bit warm. So I said, I'm not going to sit there because it's colder. Then I decided to go look at the van if it has a handicap sign on it. The other officer went with me. We both looked inside of the car. It has tons of things like pans and all kind of metallic things on the driver's seat. And he said, well, by the way, and I already mentioned that if this is against the law to park like that. I'm like, yeah, he's been standing here for a year now, and he's still standing. So we returned back. The second officer said, I know it sucks for you, man. I'm like, why are you saying that? It's kind of weird. Why would you say? You can stop this sucks thing for me by giving me a warning. Why you like? It's like a sarcasm to tell me. I know it sucks for you, man. I told something about to them about probably you paid overtime, and they said no, we're working 12 to 8, and I'm like, but I'm not working 12 to 8. Can't we? And in my mind, I'm just thinking this whole thing is set up for some reason against me, and I don't know why. Even though later on I realized why, because of that neighbor. But I understand now that email from supervisor was so important for them that they had to implement it in their working hours, which was in the middle of the night, and that's why they did it. But I think there's other ways of doing that, not coming with 3 cars, taking pictures, and waking up the whole family. I don't even know how much ticket. I asked them how much I'm going to pay, because I was thinking if it's $50, if it's $100, it doesn't worth arguing or whatever. The other officer said, we have no idea. I said, approximately. Is it $50? Is it $100? Is it $500? They said, we have no idea. You have to go on the website. And I'm actually surprised that they don't have any idea approximately to tell me the cost. But they said, you have to go on the website and find out. I found out first time I came here that it's $80-some. And I'm coming here second time in a row, and it obviously cost me more than $80, and the whole Licking County cost a lot more than $80, and it would be wiser for me just to pay and let it go. But I feel like a government doesn't work for me. Doesn't work for the great citizen, for the good resident, for the person who has a story, who presented the story, and that the supervisor's email, which was triggered by someone who wants to harass me, and they win. That little fight is kind of important for me because the whole United States is built on that. I have 3 businesses, they're all small. I'm struggling here and here and here. I need time everywhere. And I would rather spend that time to recover my business and make more money and spend more money. And how do I spend my money? I actually contribute to police. I actually donate to police. And I told them at the end of my meeting with them, I will never do that again. You guys were on my side, I'm losing you. And I feel bad about it. I've been in the United States since 1996. I mean, I have 2 graduations with bachelor degrees. I'm in IT science. I have my businesses. I have beauty salons in Bexley and Upper Arlington. I have 4 kids, great kids, 16, 17, 18, 23. Everybody has problems. I make sure that all of them go to private education. I spend a lot of money. I volunteer. In my neighborhood, Etna, for a year when I moved in with my mom, I was picking up trash every single day because I worked from home. For the lunchtime, me and my mom, we bought the sticks, and I was picking trash everywhere for a year. I didn't ask anybody to pay $1. I'm a great guy. And to wake me up in the middle of the night, flash me in the face and tell me, dress up, go there, and stand there for an hour while our system is not working, I think it's ridiculous. If they knew that the price is $80-some, put a ticket on my car. Tell me, move your car in the morning, or we will come back and there's going to be consequences or something. That would probably solve the issue. Can I show you? This is 1st of February.
Ms. Yeager, did you want to see the photographs?
Nobody is parked. This is 2nd of February. Nobody is parked. I have images today. Nobody is parked at that parking spot. It's been how many weeks? Did it worth to bring 3 cars that nobody is parked at that parking spot? So that's the proof. That's the proof that someone is just doing that to hurt me, not to park. And everybody knows that in the neighborhood. And when the second officer told me, listen, how many people you know in this neighborhood? I said, almost everyone, like 20 people for sure. He said, well, if you go to all of them and you spread the word that you had to citation and you're going to pay for it, everybody will be scared and nobody will park there. I'm like, nobody was parking there anyway. But you know what my story is going to be? I'm going to go around this 20 people and I'm going to tell everyone that I'm not on your side. At least on these 2 guys from Licking County, I'm not on your side. You're not treating me as a human. I have to pay. And even though I had verbal agreement with the president that I can park here. And honestly, this guy with the van, that's the only guy who is limping in our neighborhood. And the president said he is disabled. He's disabled. He doesn't have a sign of disability. So he's okay to park this van. Why the hell did you park it not on a disabled? Because you don't have a sign. So he parked it there. If he parked it where it's supposed to, I would be parked at my spot, which they designated by blueprints long time ago. So this is my story.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Bugatti. Ms. Yeager, do you have any questions for the defendant?
God, no.
All right, so Mr. Brigatti, if you want to go ahead and retake your seat there at the table.
Do I have to submit the pictures to you with the stickers?
If you want those to be admitted into evidence, meaning I would consider those in determining whether the state has met its burden, yeah, you'll have to mark them for identification purposes. And you use letters, A, B, C, etc.
Okay. And by the way, I believe in God. And I told them both that the system is not working because God probably blocking you to write me a citation.
Ms. Cobb, can you publish those to the prosecutor, please? Okay. Thank you, sir. You can go ahead and have a seat. Excuse me. Does the state have any objection to the introduction of A and B into evidence?
No.
There's 620. Okay, so Mr. Bugatti, you indicated that you didn't have any other witnesses and you've already introduced your exhibits. Do you rest your case, sir? Meaning you're finished with presenting your side?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very well. Ms. Yeager, did the state wish to present any testimony or evidence in rebuttal?
No, Your Honor.
Did the state wish to make any argument?
Your Honor, we stand on the evidence today. Deputy Sherburne testified that he went to this, responded to a call for service to go to this address to speak with someone who was parked in a handicapped spot. He did so. There was a vehicle that was indeed at that time parked in the handicapped spot that was clearly marked. That was clearly marked. The sign was not obstructed or anything, and he said there was no placard or indicator on the license plate that an occupant of that vehicle is entitled to park in that spot. Just because nobody else is parking there doesn't mean you get to use it. There might be someone not in the parking space that's out front right now, but it needs to be available for someone who is not able-bodied to be there. The defendant himself testified that he's been in the United States since 1996. I think between now and then he should have learned that there is no reason to park in that handicapped spot if you are not indeed in need of that space. The statute is...
You're going to have your opportunity to speak as well.
The statute is a strict liability statute. It doesn't matter how good of a person he is. The statute just says no person can park a motor vehicle in a clearly designated handicap section without having a either windshield placard or the accessibility logo on the license plate, whether it's for him or an occupant in his household. He does not have that. He did not have that. He was not entitled to be in that space. So we would ask for a finding of guilt. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Bugatti, you have a right to make what's called a closing argument. You can't bring up anything that either you or the deputy did not testify to. That's arguing facts, not in evidence. And you're not required to make a closing argument, but it is your chance to argue why you think the state has failed to meet its burden of proof. So what, if anything, would you like to say before I render my verdict?
One more thing I forgot to mention, actually, is my younger son, Misha. One day he ran...
Your Honor, I'm going to object. He just started with, I forgot to mention. That means he's going to argue facts that are not in evidence.
So as I mentioned, you can't bring up stuff that... This is just a closing argument, a comment on the evidence that the court has heard about why you don't think it's sufficient to establish proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So she's correct in saying with you bringing up new information, that's not permitted at this point of the trial. Okay? So...
But it's part of my closing argument.
But it's not, it doesn't concern evidence that's before the court. The only evidence that's before the court is your testimony, the deputy's testimony,
okay, so
and the two exhibits.
I will rephrase it. My son ran out of the condo and was hit by a car.
And Your Honor, that was a fact not testified.
Give him some leeway.
That's the spot where people used to park. and the additional parking as blueprints was invented to not provoke similar situations. That's what I was going to say.
Okay.
And my closing argument is very simple. I know I'm guilty. I know I'm guilty parking where the sign is, and I think I want to open the gate of humanity here and see what's right versus what's wrong. My wrong parking is not as obvious problem as, I think, wrong action against humanity. And I don't know, my mom gave this to me. This is God, okay? So if God sees what's going on in here, and if God makes me guilty, that's fine. I can live with that. I can pay, but as a human being, I think I have a voice and a right to say when I see something not as black as white, and that we can build bridges between government, executable, and judicial departments and civil people like me to live in peace. That's all.
All right. And because the state has the burden of proof, they do have the privilege of making what's called a rebuttal argument. It's the last argument the court would entertain before issuing its verdict. Did the state wish to make a rebuttal argument?
No, Your Honor.
All right. So, you've identified it pretty clearly, and it's been pretty obvious from, the inception of the trial today. There's two different things going on here. There's the law, and then there's how that law is applied. Now, when the prosecutor said that this is a strict liability offense, what that means is, for most crimes, they have to prove that you had a guilty mind as well as committed a guilty act. For instance, assault is defined as knowingly causing or attempt to cause physical harm to another person. If I'm standing behind that door, and you know I'm standing behind that door, and you fling it open and you break my nose, you're guilty of assault because you know I was there. If you didn't know I was there, then you're not guilty because you didn't have any unlawful purpose or intent. A strict liability offense, they don't have to prove that you were reckless or that you were negligent or that you were, acted knowingly or purposely. They just have to say, did it happen? It's kind of like a speeding ticket, right? All the testimony that you gave me, what you called your story, is what we would call mitigation, which means it doesn't negate the fact that you did, in fact, violate the statute. And you conceded that yourself in your initial closing remarks. But the court is obviously very cognizant of the fact that you were incredibly upset about how the matter was handled. And you felt that you were being treated unfairly initially by the people, your neighbors, or at least that one, the mother of one of your neighbors. And you made it very clear that you felt that you were treated very unfairly by the deputies when they responded. That the court can't speak to, okay? In essence, it's almost called the nullification. If there was a jury trial and the jury's like, yeah, he's guilty, but we feel sorry for him, so we're going to vote not guilty, that's called jury nullification. You can't argue it. If you're the lawyer, you can't ask a jury to do that. It's unlawful. But and I can't do it as the judge and just say, you know what, you got screwed over pretty bad, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut a break and not find you guilty. I have to find you guilty because the evidence is there. What I would advise you of is that if you felt that you were unfairly treated, that the deputies that were responding acted inappropriately or in violation of your rights, you can certainly start with a complaint to their superiors. You certainly have the right to explore whether or not you have legal action in a different setting as opposed to the trial as to whether or not you were guilty of violating the handicap statute. Now, I should point out that I did conduct the defendant's arraignment, and when I was looking it up, because I hadn't seen anything like that, I didn't get to the part, I didn't see where the allegation was that it was a handicap spot, because I did make comments about, well, this says you're supposed to get a warning. So that's what my misunderstanding was at the time of your arraignment. I'm sure you remember my comments. So here's the gist of it. Having entered a guilty finding, before I decide what the fine should be, and I'm somewhat constrained in what I can do here, is there anything you want to say about the fine itself?
No.
Okay. Ms. Yeager, did the state wish to be heard regarding sentencing?
Your Honor, we will leave it to the court.
Well, this is governed by 451169, and for the violation of the handicap spot, the sentence is provided for in subsection J2A. And it says, whoever violates this division of this section is guilty of a misdemeanor and shall be punished except as otherwise provided in J2A. And unfortunately, that says that, where is it? Here we go. J2A says that an offender who violates section division F1A1 or 2 of this section shall be fined not less than $250 nor more than $500. And so the court is required at a minimum to impose a fine of $250 as well as the court costs. Now, in a minute, I'm going to explain to you your options as far as further proceedings in your case. 2/18/26. Now, you said that you've been in the country since 1996. Coincidentally, that happens to be the same year I graduated from law school. One thing that I learned very early on in the practice of law, and in my position here, is it doesn't matter what the charge is, if it's an illegal parking ticket, if it's assault, if it's a drunk driving case, if it's murder. It's the most important thing in that person's life. And the court strives to make sure that it's treated as such. Sometimes it's not uncommon for folks who understand that they technically are guilty of whatever it is they're charged with, feel that they've been wronged in some way, and they elect to come to court and to basically air their story. Now, I can read the disappointment on your face. I get that. I hope that at least in some small sense you felt some vindication in being allowed to state your side of things and what you feel was wrong about how things were handled. As I mentioned, there are other remedies that you can pursue as far as addressing that. As far as addressing my verdict today and the sentence that I've imposed, you have a right to file a notice of appeal with the 5th District Court of Appeals within 30 days of today's date. You have a right to pay for a transcript of the trial, which is required to pursue your appeal, and you have the right to hire an attorney to represent you in the course of your appeal. You're obviously not required to appeal anything, but if you decide you would like to take this to the next level for review, I would strongly recommend that if you don't hire an attorney, you at least meet with one first. The rules for the appellate process are much more strict than the trial court level. You did a fine job presenting your side of things in the background and all of these surrounding facts and circumstances. And, you know, as I said, the law is the law, and sometimes it's pretty severe. Do you have any questions, sir?
No, just disappointment.
I'm sorry.
All of you, by the way.
What's that?
Disappointment in all of you.
Well, that's noted. I appreciate that. Ms. Yeager, anything
You
further?
didn't actually say how much the fine was.
I didn't. I said $250 plus costs.
You said that was the minimum, so I just
All
wanted to
right. Court stands in recess.
You wanted to pay more than $250?
The court rendered a finding of guilty. The judge explained that under Ohio law, the offense constitutes a strict liability misdemeanor, requiring only proof that the defendant parked in a clearly marked handicap space without proper credentials. Because Mr. Bugatti admitted the act and the deputy's testimony established the elements beyond a reasonable doubt, the court determined it was legally obligated to convict. The court further clarified that while it acknowledged Mr. Bugatti's frustration regarding the deputy's conduct and neighborhood disputes, those issues did not provide a legal defense to citation. The judge noted that any grievances concerning law enforcement conduct could be pursued through administrative complaints or separate legal remedies, but not within the scope of the parking violation trial. Pursuant to the governing statute, the court imposed a mandatory minimum fine of $250, plus court costs. The statute required a fine between $250 and $500. Therefore, the court lacked discretion to impose a lesser amount. The judge informed Mr. Bugatti of his right to appeal within 30 days to the appropriate appellate court and advised him regarding the procedural requirements for pursuing such relief. Court was thereafter adjourned.